Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this chat, I'd like to talk about how propaganda, particularly anti-white male propaganda, is being frantically inserted into Western education systems and throughout the school system. And in this case, it's high school. Now, there's someone I know who was hired as a special school counsellor in the education system to be on the lookout for high school girls that are being sexually abused by their fathers. So that's kind of specifically their job, and they received radicalising brainwashing, and they had to attend a number of courses where they're plied with absolutely hysterical propaganda that has no basis in any known fact, where it's asserted up to 50% of girls in high school are being sexually abused by their fathers, including full-on intimate relations. So this would seem to be quite astonishing. If it's true, it would be surely something so sensational it would warrant a massive government task forces, commissions of inquiry, and so on. And the amount of people that would be imprisoned from this would be in excess of the capacity of any Western nation's prison to hold them. So that would be the extent of the situation, were it to be true or accurate. And with all radical feminist, globalist inspired, bring down Western white society, hate on straight white male whitey and all this sort of thing, then we can take it with a pinch of salt. It's just bullshit. But nonetheless, let's just follow the narrative that they're pushing and see where it goes. Now, the first thing is this woman has gone through herself some rather unfortunate relationships. She's a bit of a radical. She loves going to street marches and protests, saying that black and brown people should be allowed to come into the West, regardless of any form of merit. She's a radical activist there, doing all sorts of street marching and the like. And she's also had a rather checkered employment history, and her relationships, which she's been primarily only with brown men, has also not gone so well for her. So she's someone who is prepared to take any job really, and who is already ideologically predisposed to believe that all white people in Western society is evil and wicked. So that she's already sort of halfway, if not most of the way, into that camp. So she'd be very easy to radicalize. Did you know that 50% of white men, nearly all Christians, bad, evil white men, they're overweight, they're dirty, they're grubby, and they're taking away the pure innocence, the sweet, clean, pure innocence of their little daughters. Oh, this is an epidemic. We have to get them. We have to bring them to book. You have to go in there and you have to find out these ones so we can put them in prison. What do you reckon? And she's no genius, and again predisposed, and so she laps all this crap up, and so runs around thinking that it's even true, or she'd like it to be true, or it's a kind of truth that would support her worldview and the misfortunes and shortcomings in her own life. So this kind of explains it's only those bad, evil white men that did it. So she's sitting next, she's in a school counsellor's job, taxpayer funded, and it's a reasonably, it's above average pay, and so she's doing okay. It's got very convenient hours, so she's got a very short work week of maybe 31 hours maximum, but she gets a full-time job pay, lots of vacation time. So it's kind of a good gig, good retirement pension plan and so on. So she gets into that, and she's believed all the radical stuff. But if you talk to her, she's where in societies where intercourse between relatives, sexual intercourse between relatives, as soon as girls come to puberty is kind of an accepted practice. It's not considered as overly unusual, and it's not frowned upon by any laws in the countries that these people come from. And so these, if there are any perpetrators, then these would be the obvious places to go and look. But no, that's not right, because if we do that, we're being culturally insensitive, or we're being racist, or we're being phobic in some way, Islamophobic or this phobic or that phobic. So no, we can't do it. The only group we're allowed to look at is straight white males, particularly Christian straight white males. They're the ones that are doing it. So, well, how are they doing it? What sort of evidence do you have? And if you sort of persist and pest for long enough, she'll give you a couple of studies, and then you look at it. But it's these aren't studies. They're propaganda produced by angry gender studies lesbians. They're nothing. There's not a fact to point to, and it's all made up. It's all fantasy. It's all ideological fantasy. So in fact, there is no epidemic of this, and there is no evidence to suggest there even is one. I'm sure amongst all the school students in the entire place, I'm sure you could find one. I don't doubt that. But the idea it's an epidemic and up to 50% and so on. And under sort of, again, if you press her, she'll say, well, maybe not 50%, but she's sure an absolute minimum of 1/3 of high school girls are being sexually abused by their straight white fathers, which is why don't we say that every high school girl who knows a lesbian is being abused by the lesbian? Why don't we say that? No, can't say that. It's only straight white males can be the target. Only straight white males be the target, and only with fantastic, absurd, ridiculous, invented bullshit propaganda from gender studies activists to rely on. But it brings us back to the central thing there, that the counsellor is openly looking for it. So she's trying to find girls who can secretly tell her, the counsellor, say, yep, my white Christian father is sexually abusing me. And it's a secret conversation. There's no evidence bar that needs to be reached, or there's no proof required. Now, as soon as the counsellor can encourage maybe a very disturbed girl, maybe a girl's got a lot of psychological problems generally in all sorts of different ways, nothing to do with the parents, then the girl can be sort of encouraged to say something, maybe have a tearful breakdown in front of the counsellor. And that's all the counsellor needs. The counsellor can then go to a special legal unit in the education department. And it's completely populated by radical activists and white-hating, men-hating, Christian-hating people, nearly all of whom, by the way, are lesbians. Then that unit can then go straight to the Justice Department, the so-called Justice Department, the Prosecutor's Department, and so on. And before you know it, the girl's being whisked away out of the house because she's in danger. She's in danger. I mean, wow. I mean, we've got to do something. The clamouring, can't you hear the clamouring? So then she's moved out of the house into some safe house. Sounds like some fucking Cold War movie or spy movie or something. She's in a safe house, in the tender, loving care of lesbian activists, by the way. So she's being looked after there, away from the evil father. I mean, wow. I mean, look what he's doing. Gee, I mean, we've got to do something. What proof do we have? Well, none. What evidence do we have? Nothing. Do we have any? Well, we've got some sort of tearful, mumbled allegation that the counsellor dug out of this disturbed young girl, but that's all we've got. Good enough. We can't do too much to help the vulnerable, the vulnerable and the weak. I mean, we've got to stand up for them. So then it goes into a situation where the father of the girl is required to then defend himself legally, even though there are no formal charges against him. There's no time or place, or it happened here and you did this or that, evidence, nothing. There's an allegation, and the rest is all ideology and assertion. So they need only assert that it's been going on, and then he has to defend against it. Now, he's got two things here. He's got a disturbed daughter, who's obviously very worried about, who's being whisked away and is now under the tender mercies of radical activists who will be plying her full of propaganda bullshit every day. Will be training her and coaching her on what to say. I mean, Christine Blasey Ford type scenario here, and then she'll be having more interviews with so-called independent psychologists and psychiatrists, who again will all be activists. Most of them will be lesbians, and they will be writing up their reports. Yes, definitely abuse has taken place here, based on an interview with a very disturbed young girl, and so on it goes. So this girl's being exploited purely for ideological propaganda purposes, and she is just being used as a device to get at a straight white male. That's all it is. It is nothing else going on here, just that. Now, if there is evidence, of course, that it did happen, and it's tested in a court of law, an independent court, not in front of some activist bullshit judge, but in front of an independent judge in a court of law with full due legal process. No ideological assertion, deny it, you dirty white low dog. No. Full due legal process with the rules of evidence. And if it's proven to be guilty under those, then the forces of the law should apply, and reasonably so. But if not, then that man walks free. The daughters return to the house, and those who initiated this evil witch hunt, they lose their jobs, and they're never employed in this industry again. But all too often, it ends up as a draw. They're not really able to sort of prove the case. The guy can't fully prove his innocence because he's up against an ideological assertion. How can you prove your innocence to that? So it kind of ends up as a draw, and the guy's legally, financially exhausted, having fought the legal battles. He's probably had to take out another mortgage on the house. He'll never recover from that financially, not in his lifetime. The girl's probably lost any inheritance she would have just through the struggle over this, and so nothing's been achieved. But those people, they keep their jobs and they go straight on to the next case and try it on again. Sooner or later, they'll get one. Some guy won't have enough money to fight them, or he'll buckle under the strain, and then they can nail him. Damn straight white bastard! Got to get him. So that's how it sort of plays out in the real world. So simple people being radicalised, being inserted into education departments, on the lookout for believing that every second girl is being sexually abused, even though there's no evidence, even the slightest bit of evidence to support that, and that's how it plays out. And these are sort of things you should be talking to your local politicians about, that it's simply not acceptable. There are all sorts of units running around the education departments these days, special units to look after lesbians and special units to look after gays. But all of them, whether they look after gays or lesbians is another matter, but they're all viciously and fervently anti-straight white male, and that's something that we need to address. You've been with Tastus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining me.